Me muting myself. Welcome everyone to another Imposter Kings match. This one being a lower bracket quarterfinal, and this is what I like to call the first boss stage, where you have people from the upper bracket trying to gatekeep, people from the lower bracket from progressing forward.
Yeah, this is a hype match. I mean, they're all hype matches. All the matches you're going to see in this tournament are great. This one is going to be a thriller. We've got DripDropDando versus Yedi. And I got to tell you, this is going to be one pitched battle. We saw both of them in action in the first stages of the tournament. And we got to see some of their tendencies coming out as well. And I got to tell you, put those tendencies together, I think we're in for a whale of a match this morning.
Yeah, I think we got to see both of these players play quite a lot of really good Imposter Kings. So we've got DripDrop Dando, who played extremely aggressively against the kid. Tried to squeeze out a couple victories. Had some really good hands, but the kid was just playing out of his mind, honestly, to survive some of those hands. And I think the momentum was gone. We'll see if he continues to try to be as aggressive as he was last time. On the other side, we have Yedi, who again was also playing super aggressive in his match against Laziness. Was able to clinch that victory by just pummeling, I think, trying to use brute force as much as possible. So it's going to be two aggressive Titans coming together to try to match and fight each other.
That's right. And two aggressive players. And we've said this before that often in Imposter Kings, fortune favors the bold. That if you try to play tentative, if you try to play conservatively, inevitably the person who makes the confident, bold move will tend to grab the initiative and thus maximize the hands and thus win the matches. But we'll see, because it is possible to play too aggressively here. Both players came in aggressively. We saw Yeti have tremendous success with that in the previous game. DripDropDando just ran into the kid. And I got to tell you, when you're playing the kid, who is already now into the finals of this tournament, the kid has a way of defeating all strategies that come at him. But both of these players are fighting for a chance to get another crack at the kid here in the finals of this tournament. And it's going to be a heck of a match to see who stays in and advances to the lower bracket semis, and who joins me in the lounge for ousted competitors.
Well, yeah, and just looking quickly at the bracket here. So we have DripDropDando versus Yeti today. Tomorrow we have Vilao versus Papaya, another fascinating game between someone who dropped from the upper bracket. But I think the thing that's going to be really interesting is whoever wins these matches will then fight against each other to have a chance to go against Goose and then the final boss, which is the kid. So quite a uphill struggle. A lot of real hard matches to fight. And yeah, it could be anyone's game. So let's go ahead and head on over to the stadium.
That's right,
Where
Imposter King Stadium, where our competitors are waiting, where the excitement is mounting for what should be another incredible weekend of the Imposter King SummerSlam tournament. Game 6 is about to get rolling right now.
SummerSlam. I love
Sorry,
it.
Royal Rumble.
No, I
Got
mean,
my WWE knockoff names mixed.
So off the bat, we see something similar that we've been seeing quite a lot, which is the royalty hanging out on the sidelines, kind of seeing what's going on. So we have the princess being accused, and we have the discard being the mystic. We have DripDropDando gets to go first. He decided to let Yeti go first. Again, Papaya and DripDropDando are both players who like to let their opponents go first, even if they have an Inquisitor or a Soldier. And he's going fast here. He's placing down his cards pretty fast. What's your evaluation of the hands?
It's intriguing, right? With no princess, it does tip things pretty substantially. I feel like Yeti has the slightly better hand. DripDropDando does have the 6-1 combo, always potent. Yeti's got the queen, which is great, especially when your opponent has the fool and the assassin. Interestingly, DripDropDando successored his king's hand, even though, right, he knows that the assassin is out and lurking. That means he can't use the king's hand to fight an assassination attempt, because in order to get it, he has to flip his king. Interestingly enough, that's a unique play, especially with Yeti going first, meaning DripDropDando is not guaranteed to be able to use his Inquisitor.
So I think he's playing some mind games here, right? The first thing, he's hoping Yeti will play an Inquisitor, guess the King's Hand, fail that, and then DripDropDando has a free counter Inquisit. Now, it doesn't work if Yeti decides to use a Soldier first to kind of scout that out. But I think what DripDropDando is yeah, there you go. So Yeti's playing the standard line of asking for the King's Hand. Nothing happens, and now he can ask for the Assassin using his little safety judge. So
That's right. So DripDrop assessing things first before burning his Inquisitor, see if the assassin got successor by Yeti, and learns that it did not. So that leads to a strong 5-4 play. And suddenly now DripDropDando has the initiative. So yes, successoring the King's Hand paid off big time here.
yeah, it did. And Yeti's gonna flip here. I think getting away from that fool play from the flip. They're going pretty fast here, but I think it's an interesting flip. He's saving his soldier, so I think maybe he's thinking he can bludgeon here. Um, yeah,
Well, it is interesting because you're right. Yeti retained, despite having lost some initiative and tempo based off that initial exchange, still does have the numerical advantage.
correct. Yeah,
Um, and a big element of this, Yeti has to suspect that the fool is out there. Yeti's been playing as if DripDropDando has the fool, which we both know he does. And so what is interesting now is deployment of the queen is going to be pivotal here. Because remember, the queen does disgrace every card in the court, is a natural anti-pattern. Up, Dando flips king
I
on
think
the
he wants
assassin.
to. I think he has to do that because of the sentry threat, right? So
That's right.
Yeti could pick up the assassin with the sentry, and so he has to pick up since he doesn't have any more answers to the assassin.
Right, having
I
burned
mean,
all of his assassin
unknowing
counters.
to Yeti, of course, because the face down burn card is the Mystic. So
So now, interestingly, so Yeti plays soldier and guesses queen. Yeti knows he has the queen. He does not want the soldier to be a 7 because that will allow a 6-1 play.
yeah,
And I
it's
think
always smart to do that. That's a good call out, Dan.
so, and perhaps some mind games there too to say, hey, I don't have the queen.
Right.
Dando plays the warlord just to burn as a 7. And so now, again, it's all going to depend on that queen deployment. Do you think now's the time where Yeti springs it?
No, it looks like he's just gonna try to go uh,
Sentry.
tit for tat here.
So now, if you're DripDrop Dando, do you think, this is as good as it's going to get for the 6-1? Or do you use your king's hand?
That's a tough choice. I mean, I think you're not gonna get the fool. You're not gonna be able to play the fool this game naturally. So it might be worth getting that 7. But the thing is that maybe, yeah, I think he's going to go for it. The thing that's tough about this is that he doesn't know that Yeti doesn't have the Mystic. There's some hints of it, though, at this point. Now, Yeti playing that soldier and calling queen, if DripDropDando isn't careful and thinking that he actually was trying to hit a card, might think that the queen is the thing that's away. But
So he
so
does
just
fetch the warlord.
yeah.
And again, that's critical, right? Because you suspect if you don't do that, the queen's going to come out. You're not going to get anything for your fool. And now you're in desperate shape. So, all right, picks up the warlord. And with the elder in hand, the warlord, knowing the queen is lurking, could be a very potent card here.
Yep. Could actually turn out to be the deciding factor here. Now, of course, off of the 3, Yeti can hit a 5, hit a soldier to prevent it from becoming empowered, but which the warlord gets better if there's royalty in the court. But it's not going to be able to save him from the king's hand. So this is kind of a precarious position where I think Yeti is just looking for a 1 point loss here, and it's just because of the fact that he's going first. So
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't
back
have the
to
card advantage.
yeah.
So Yeti soldier wants to know if Dando has the elder, perhaps he burned it, gets the information that does now make the soldier a 7. And
Yep.
I think he's now considering,
He's got a path out.
yeah, I believe you're right. So now is considering it doesn't really matter. There's nothing that can pick up anything. So uh, the uh, the disgraces is not going to be meaningful for the soldier, but he's still observing.
You know what's funny is that a strong play here is actually for him to king's hand this.
Interesting. Say more.
So if you king's hand this, then Yeti doesn't have the escape hatch.
Ah, right, of being able to
Oh,
six.
I guess he still does because he plays his six. You play the warlord
Yeah,
and
he
then
can
he plays the queen.
actually, in a very rare circumstance, use the Oathbound to get his queen out,
Yeah.
which is an exceptional play, but would salvage, just make this into a 1 point
Well,
loss.
at this point, he has to do the oathbound into queen because if he plays the queen now, it's elder, and then he plays oathbound. I guess either way, either route works for making a 1 point hand, but he just has to be careful.
That's
Actually,
right. That,
I'm not even sure if he has to be careful. He has an out every single way.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Um, So okay, there is the warlord as a 7. There's the queen. DripDropDando only has one play, which is the elder. Here comes the oathbound, and the king's hand will finish it. It turns out the king's hand becomes the king royalty in this, and DripDropDando draws first blood with a 1 point victory off of the first hand of this match. And it's an interesting one. Sinbu, I questioned it, but it turned out to be exactly the right play, which was successoring the king's hand at the beginning,
Sure
drawing
was.
the failed Inquisitor at the beginning. And I think that's what gave DripDropDando this hand.
Yeah, at this caliber of play, both players kind of figured out that the Mystic was the thing that was thrown away pretty fast, actually. But I do love this line. I mean, it's a risky line because if Yeti decides to play a soldier, at the beginning of the round, and calls for the King's Hand, then I guess, DripDrop had the Judge, so he had actually a good counter for either the Judge or the soldier. Now, if Yeti started with an Oathbound play at the beginning, um, that would have maybe put DripDropDando into a little bit of a more precarious position, but that would be a hard call out on the fact that he has a King's Hand there. But it was really good. He plays the Inquisitor, misses. Now DripDropDando not only has to go second, so he has card advantage, but he still also gets the first turn Inquisit and or Judge. So
Yeah, again, baited that hook perfectly, and it does show, the conventional meta right now is there are really 3 cards you typically lead off an Imposter King's hand. It's either the Inquisitor, the Judge, or the Soldier. And as you pointed out, this is an example where leading off with a different card, if you're Yeti, might have been the way to go here. So I think that'll be interesting to see if the meta shifts over time as we see hands like this one.
yeah, I just think but this is again a hard read. If he plays the Oathbound here, DripDropDando either has to play his own Oathbound, his Warlord, and can get bludgeoned pretty hard with some of the higher number cards. But let's go ahead and move on to game number 2. Let's see what their draws
All
are.
right. Game
So
2, interesting draw.
so it looks like Yeti's the true king, and he's got a pretty powerful hand here. He's got 2 9s, 2 8s. Warlord is gone, so DripDropDando, his hand is better than he thinks it is, but it's still a pretty abysmal hand.
Yeah, if I'm DripDropDando, I have the 2 potent utility cards in the Assassin and the Fool, but I have no top end whatsoever. And, knowing, yes, the Warlord is the one that's out, that's actually maybe not the most useful one because that means Yeti is both royalty, both 8s,
Yep.
and initiative because Yeti is the true king. If I'm DripDropDando, I'm immediately studying this to see is there a way to wriggle out with a 1 point loss to grab initiative back? Because, yeah, I would say that this hand does not have a lot of beef to it.
It's not great, no. And I think, you said he has some of the utility cards, but he's also missing the king's hand. So that makes it even harder, which is now you have not only does he have a strong hand, but he can also throw away some of his upper value cards to counter anything that you try to do. So
Yeah, I mean, logically, I'm Dando. I'm looking at this hand thinking there's no way the assassin is going to be useful for me if I decide to play it. And I would likely throw it away. Now, one thing, of course, he's going up against both royalty. So even though he has an elder in the 6/1 combo, at least one of those two is going to have to be deployed on a royalty card to survive this hand.
that's
Which
right.
means he may not be able to time when he wants to play the 6/1 combo, which is just another liability in the situation of this hand.
Yeah, the one good news for him is that he would be going second, and that would just make it so he can have card advantage. And if he pulls off the fool, if he's somehow able to, oh wow, he's keeping it. So yeah, he's
And
gonna
keep the
keep this and
assassin.
go, and he's gonna keep the assassin, which I think I like because now he can. Okay, well here's that 6 start that I was talking about. He doesn't want to
All
play
right,
any
what?
more Inquisitor games.
Yeah, well,
Goes
Yeti's
straight
got the meat, and he's
goes
just going to
straight for a
squeeze, I
flip on
think.
a 6.
So flips on the 6. Now, Yeti still has that Inquisitor. Do you think he's going to try to Inquisit Assassin now, or do you think he's thinking, I'm not concerned about it?
I don't think he needs to care. The Elder's a good pick. Um, it's so funny. He has such beefy hand that you don't want to even play anything. But the thing that's really interesting here is now DripDropDando doesn't have answers for the royalty.
Yeah, DripDrop is doomed. And Yeti knows it because the Oathbounds are accounted for. Both the Elders are now accounted for. I think DripDropDando
Well, so
walked
he
into
can
a
6-1
3-point trap.
into he's gonna 6-1 into picking up the 6 again. Yeah. So
Ah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
so this is what I really like. What DripDropDando is doing from the beginning is he flipped on that 6 because all he's trying to do is get Yeti to play cards, so it's a 2-point loss minimum. And now he's gonna try to play for a 1-point loss. So he's playing, pretty well for a card that if Yeti's not careful, he can be in trouble. So this is really funny how he's just kind of bullying him here.
Yeah, he's trying to just turtle up. And right, DripDropDando, right, still has that Oathbound there. But if Yeti goes King's Hand, Princess, then this will still be a 3-point hand.
Yeah. It sure would be. I think he was a little hasty on the Zealot play because what he had to do is hit the Oathbound Mystic into 8s, I think.
That's right.
So he was doing really well until that last part, and this is going to be game over.
Oof. Yep, and that's it. 3 points for Yeti.
Painful.
So you're right. That, I mean, again, I overlooked it, but yeah, the 6-1 to pick up the 6, he knew he had to do it because he didn't have an answer for royalty, and he had almost wriggled off the line, but it just didn't work out because you're right. He missed an opportunity to diminish those 8s to continue to play on it, and that's what spelled his downfall.
Yeah, so when the Sentry came out, if he Oathbound into Mystic, hits the 8s, at that point, he wins. At that point, he wins because now the Assassin's also in play. Wait, no, I'm missing something, which is he still needed an answer for the royalty. The Zealot only works on... Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a way out of it because the Zealot only works on non-royalty. So it was really close.
He took a swing, yeah, and almost did wriggle out of the hand. But as it is, it's a 3-point loss. Yeti grabbing things back and using the initiative very effectively. The True King will go back to DripDropDando, though, and still early in this match, we go into hand 3.
It's a bummer. It's just so close to actually turning that into a 3-point win for him. Or a 2-point win for him. So...
All right, better hand this time for DripDropDando.
He has initiative.
Close to an Exodia hand.
Oh, that is close to an Exodia hand. Is it?
It is because the other Oathbound is burned. So you're Yeti, you're assessing this and thinking, I probably need to mulligan this.
He went first. It's always a bad sign when you see him going first. That's definitely an Exodia hand.
Yeah, for those who don't know the Exodia hand. So the royalty cards, there are 2 answers to the royalty cards, Oathbounds and Elders. You also have your King Flip. If your opponent has both royalty cards, that means you need at least 1 Oathbound or Elder in addition to your King Flip to deal with them. Yeti has nothing. Dando's got both royalty cards. Yeti has no Oathbounds. He has no Elders. And
it's otherwise a good hand, funny enough.
Yeah. And so Yeti smartly spots it and uses his mulligan.
Yeah, the chances of getting the Exodia hand are very low. So it's really funny that it's not only that they get it, but they also showed all the cards too. So, it was very clear to DripDropDando that he has Exodia. So,
yeah, so that one went right away. Where both knew what was happening. Yeti did not walk into the trap. You're right; he did otherwise have a good hand, just no answers for the royalty. And so Yeti uses his mulligan, and we'll head into hand number 4.
And if Yeti actually had, I want to say, just going back to it, if Yeti had 1 answer, that would have been okay. But with 0, it's really tough. If he had initiative, maybe he could have inquisited out an Oathbound or an Elder and picked one up. There's that type of thing. But then at that point, you're still doing chance. So We go into the next match. It's still 1-3 to Yedi, and it looks like Yeti's got a really strong hand again.
Yeah,
DripDropDando has one of those utility hands.
yeah, Dando has a better hand than the one he had that earned him a 3-point loss in hand number two. He's got both Oathbounds. He does have the Assassin and the Mystic to go with it. He can do things with this hand. At the very least, this is not a bad hand to try to run into a 1-point loss if that's the direction he wants to go. But
He's
I
going
wouldn't
first
look at this.
again.
Interesting. So he's deciding to go first. Usually not what you want to do if you want to run to a 1-point loss, but it's possible he does have the Judge Inquisitor combo. He's seeing a way to grab tempo and dictate things in his direction.
Yeah. It's again, he was playing super aggressive with the kid, and he was playing super aggressive earlier. He just had that one. He was 1 point away from actually swinging at 3 points, and I think he's going to try to do the same thing here. But interestingly enough, he is going first. So I think what he's trying to do is, if he nails that judge, it forces Yeti to play high level cards. The only issue is that Yeti does have a soldier to help protect that. If he
So
didn't have that soldier, it would have been real good for DripDropDando, because he could hit the judge, and then it forces Yeti to expend essentially 2 cards that are
that's
higher than
right.
5.
That's exactly right. But yeah, he has a soldier. Notably, he retained the soldier. Inevitably, when you have both royalty cards, you're going to get rid of at least one elder. And here, Dando guesses King's hand, has that information in that's useful both to set up the Inquisitor play, and also now he does know Yeti has the King's hand, and we'll see what Yeti chooses to Inquisit. If you're Yeti, you don't want to disgrace anything in court right now because you have the Fool, and you know Dando likely has the Mystic. So you're probably not going to go disgracing anything with this soldier play, and it does not look like he will.
I wonder if DripDropDando is going to pull that king's hand and then try to sentry swap it, or just pull it in general and flip on it. But or if he's going to grab. Okay, so
Grabs the King's hand.
he did go for the king's hand, and the king's hand was immediately used against it. So instead of playing it, he's now used it, and we're seeing this unique feature of the game where this is rare. It used to be super rare. Like 3 years ago, it never happened. Now it happens all the time where people are king's handing on top of a soldier. The soldier doesn't retain its +2. It's when it's on the throne, it gets to have the +2 bonus. So now DripDropDando is actually playing on a 5, which is nice for him as well.
Yeah, like I'm curious about why to use the King's hand because otherwise you're making Dando play on an 8. Is he
Yeah.
concerned about an Oathbound play?
Yeah, I mean, but there's no follow up to that Oathbound play. I think it was just simply that he doesn't want DripDropDando to have the sentry to swap in a king's hand. I feel like
So
I'm not
yeah,
sure
that's
how you
true.
would use that. The issue is that Dando just needs pure value right now. He needs to just sit tight and let the assassin do its work. So I think he's thinking about that right now. Um, yeah, I mean it's
Yeah,
tough. Also, he's trying to figure out when he can flip without giving another card. It would be
that's right
nice if you
now.
had another Inquisitor so you could pull that Queen and then flip on it, but
And Dando just have to be careful with King flips because again, Yeti has both royalty in his hand, which
yep,
Dando
that too.
suspects but doesn't know. And thus at least one of his two oath he has 3 countermeasures for those, the 2 oathbounds and the king flip. So if he uses a king flip that's not on royalty, his oathbound have to be used on the royalty, or else it's over, unless he can wrangle something with the sentry to pick one of them back up.
So interesting that he goes with the Oathbound here. I was saying he has 3 options. He's got the Sentry, which is forcing Yeti to play a royalty. He's got the Mystic, which would have Yeti play the Warlord, which is not good for him, but he could do it if he thinks the Warlord is the thing that's burned over here. There's no indication on either side where these cards are, so he's working with really little information. So I think he went with the safest route he could think of, which is play the Oathbound. Try to get Yeti to play some cards that he can flip on. So now I think you play the Mystic without ability, force Yeti to play one of his royalty.
That's right. And then you can do a safe king flip on it.
It's
And
not
we'll
it's not
see.
safe because it's not he gets to choose. He's gonna choose not to play the queen. I assume because he's gonna flip on that, and then it's safe on the that royalty, but Yeti's still gonna be able to pull a pretty powerful card. I think the reason why I love this sequencing is because DripDropDando is keeping an 8, which you're like, oh, okay, well the eight's already, all the other cards are already gone, but he's gonna pick up like a 7 or a 6. DripDropDando now when he flips, and if he uses the Fool to pick up that card, he can counter with an 8. The issue is I just don't think he has enough card power here.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right. Well, right now you can always tell when there's a long turn that you've got a player who's trying to play all the remaining lines in their head. And
Yep, there it
so
is.
it goes with the 7, the Mystic without the power. And that will flush out either a king flip or one of the 2 royalty cards from Yeti.
Yep, and I think Yeti has to play a princess here. Even though you don't want to play a princess in this situation, you play that queen, DripDropDando is going to flip, and then you have nothing to play that Fool on. It might not matter, however, because of the fact that he just doesn't have enough firepower. So DripDropDando still does have an escape, though, if he wants it, to be able to use his Oathbound to cash out, potentially. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of different lines here. He plays the princess correctly. So DripDrop has to flip here.
That's right. There's the flip. So now full play, probably the moment here.
Right. If DripDropDando happened to have an Elder instead of this, it could have maybe worked out. But here, he's going to pull the 7. Even if DripDropDando plays the 8, Yedi will play the queen, and then he has no other recourse other than to cash out and just make it a 1-point loss.
Actually, it will still be a 2-point loss because Yedi has not flipped his king.
He has not flipped his king. Oh, man. It's mitigating 1 point, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the thing. You get these when you're trying to run your hand out. If you go first and you have card disadvantage, you think, great, I'll burn my hand fast. If you get 2 cards ahead of your opponent by using your Oathbound, you could get the rare 2-point hand where the second point, you run your hand out of cards, but your opponent hasn't flipped their king yet. And that's exactly how this is going to go down. So it's a 2-point win for Yeti.
It was close. Dare I say it's, him going first means that he had 1 less card right there. And this was a tough one, right? He starts off calling out the king's hand, which is great. Yeti does king's hand that card, and then he had a choice between the Sentry, the Mystic, and the Oathbound. And I think all of those were winning, are going to be, unfortunately, not going to be able to be enough against this double royalty. There's not much you can really do about it. By going with the Assassin, he has now made it so it's either a 3 or 2-point hand usually because they won't flip. And so it becomes like a nice edge of, 3 points versus 2 points. I don't know if DripDropDando could have done anything better there.
Well, I mean, I think you're right. 2-point loss you feel is par for maybe how these hands were distributed at the beginning. And, he tried his best. Again, right, if you retain your Assassin, you're taking maybe a small swing at trying to win, but you're also, right, forcing your opponent to play without flipping their king, which sometimes can work against you. And if I'm Yeti, I don't really mind how these things went down either. I feel like I've got good value out of this. He's 1 hand away at this point. So 5-1 as we go into the next hand. But Dando does still have his mulligan. So he still has that in his pocket.
That's right. And, oh, man, this is an interesting hand on both sides. I mean, I think so. Dando gets to choose who goes first here. And I think that's going to determine how this entire sequence is going to play.
Interesting. Yeti's got the rainbow hand. 9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2. So no doubles, just the full rainbow. DripDropDando has the Fool, but no Oathbound to pair it with. Has the Judge Inquisitor combo as well.
He's going first.
And he's going to go first, I think, probably because of that, because he, again, can determine tempo with that combo. Throws the soldier away.
It's just there's so many unknowns in this hand, which is really dangerous for DripDropDando. He's got Mystic, he's got Assassin, he's got King's Hand. It just could be really dangerous for him if he's not able to guess correctly. And so I think he's just putting all his chips on the table here.
Well, an intriguing thing is, all right, you look at that hand and think a convention would be judge into inquisitor, but a big question is, what are you going to inquisit that sets you up for success coming from here? You could go after the king's hand. You could try to, you do have the assassin to contend with, and actually in his hand, the only countermeasure he has for the assassin is the inquisitor.
That's right. And I mean, that's one of the things you can do with the judge is just kind of tease it out, and then if you don't get it there, and when they flip, you can try again. But he doesn't have like an oathbound to pair with it. He doesn't have. He wants to use the king flip to use his fool. That type of thing. It's a pretty tough hand, and we'll see how he's going to try to parry this. Now, if
I
you're on,
am surprised he didn't use his mulligan. In a 5-1 situation where a 2-point loss ends a match, I would have been very tempted, but
isn't that your rule though?
that's
Where
true.
once you
The golden rule of Imposter Kings is if you mulligan a marginal hand, you are guaranteed to get a worse one.
So he starts off, hits the assassin. The issue is that he's got the king's hand as well. So I'm kind of worried about this. I think if you're Dando, you kind of need to actually pull the king's hand, and oh, that's an immediate flip. He only needs 2 points to win, so I guess he's just going all in now.
Yeah, intriguing move. Do you think he king's hands this? He does.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's going right for the throat. When you do that move, where you king's hand the Inquisitor play, it's a declaration that this is now an assassin hand. And
He can't even play. He can't play his fool either. He went first, so he has very little cards. He can't play the fool because the king flip was safely tucked behind the judge.
Now, looking at the hand situation, one thing is Yedi only has one countermeasure for the princess, and that's the queen. So using the queen at the wrong time would be a disaster here. He's unlikely to make that mistake, but that would let Dando wriggle out of this if Yedi does deploy it at the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because he still has the zealot. If he didn't have the zealot, then a sentry, queen, princess would win. But that's, I think, DripDropDando has to try for it. And unfortunately, it's just going to get parried by that zealot.
Yep. There's a zealot. There's the warlord.
He's got a mystic
Yedi,
to parry that.
Like we'll just put the mystic as a straight 7. It's going to force. Now, he could princess swap, but Yeti's just going to stick a soldier in Dando's hand. It won't help very much.
No, I think this is it.
Yep. There it is. Princess is out. Queen will emerge, and that will be it.
No, there's first a swap. Don't forget the swap.
All right, they do have a swap. Dando's going to get a very unsatisfying return on that. Force the flip. Here comes the assassin.
Oof, look at that new animation.
Do you like that whisking across the table? And just like that, a fast match. Yedi takes it, a 2-point win on that hand, a 7-1 win for the match. Yedi advances to the lower bracket semifinals. DripDropDando is out.
Yep. And that was it. I think we saw some really good aggressive play, I think, from both players, just like last time. As we were mentioning, both of these like to play very aggressive. I think it was interesting that DripDropDando decided to go first on a lot of those hands. I think it was for that tempo that you were talking about, but didn't really work out for him near the end there. I do like that even though he was sure to lose there at the end, I think, he still played all the lines that were the best for him, just in case one of those things were burned down.
Exactly. He played aggressively, put pressure on Yedi with the hope that Yedi would make a mistake. And Yedi, to his incredible credit, did not. Yedi played the right hands, played the right lines, did everything that he needed to do.
He did everything right.
Retain the advantage. Yeah. And if you're Dando, and we'll ask him when he steps into Imposter King Stadium, the one main regret I might have coming out of this is, he died with water in his canteen. You still have the mulligan in reserve, which, when you lose 7-1 on a marginal hand is never a good feeling. So we'll have to talk about that with him in the interview room.
Yeah, I think, when he's 5-1, he's just thinking, I have to win this even without the mulligan. But as you were saying, I think that was a tough one. But we'll pull him in. Hi there.
What's up?
Hey, I love the shirt.
Thanks.
Yeah, sick. Where could one acquire a shirt that's as cool and as swaggy as that?
I think the website, you go to the merch tab and you can buy a shirt there. It's for $100, 99.99.
Well, it's made of nothing but the finest fabrics. This is not a Gildan style free swag t-shirt. This is fine cotton, I would
It's
assume.
Also,
one of my favorite
import
shirts.
import rates from Nersetti has been quite difficult over the last couple of years. So,
Yeah.
but but yeah, Sam, we hate to see you go, but unfortunately, you were eliminated this match. I wanted to talk through some of the plays that you had there. I think Dan had a really good question, which was, you it was 5-1, not a great hand. You played the line perfectly after you've made the decision to try to inquisite. How come, or I guess I should say, how come? I should ask, did you have a chance to think about mulliganing on any of those hands that were not as good? And what was kind of going through your mindset
Uh,
there?
yeah, I mean, the second hand, I definitely considered mulliganing. I wanted to see if I could get away with getting 1 point, which is why I played the hand out anyway, because it was very close to an Exodia hand. And as you can see how volatile 18 card standard is, literally the next hand I drew was an Exodia hand. So, like, very easily I could have drawn a hand like that if I could have saved my mulligan, which is what I was more concerned about. That last hand I thought was, I mean, I got pretty weak hands throughout all these rounds, except for the one Exodia hand. So I did consider mulliganing, but I just figured at that rate, I just wanted to try to play it out the best I could. Um, yeah, that's the only thing I can really think about. I think I played my hands very well. The only thing is I should have just maybe mulliganed a little bit more aggressively.
And
Yeah, I
you
mean,
go ahead, Dan.
oh, I would say, you're exactly right that when it came to hand luck, you had some pretty dismal hand luck in this match. Definitely weak hands, except for the Exodia hand that you did get, which Yedi mulliganed. I will say the first hand didn't look strong either, and you managed to get a 1 point win out of that. Did you feel coming out of that like, I've maximized something and I'm set up for the rest of the match?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess what would maybe help with my thought process was the bad hands that I was playing. After watching more of this tournament and just playing 18 card standard more, I realized that hands sometimes are best played if they're being played to what is the discarded card potentially. So in terms of whatever's I'm trying to, my mentality has changed to where I look at a hand and I go, this hand can be bad, but if this key card they don't have, then the hand is winnable. So some of those decisions I was making, those bad hands, were with the intention, like a lot of those hands would have been, if one of the royals was out, I win the hand. If
Right.
he didn't have this card, I win the hand, you know? And unfortunately, that never happened. But if they did, I would have won the hand. So I'm trying to play more that way. So rather than if I look at a hand and go, if they don't have X card, I win the hand versus it's unplayable, I'll mulligan. I'll try to play towards my luck of it being discarded rather than just mulliganing the hand, unless it's like an Exodia hand or something like that.
Sure. And you chose to go first on those last two hands. I was wondering, since you're a huge proponent of going second, and also in that first match where you had a weaker hand, you went second and you were able to bait out the Inquisitor to the King's hand, and you hid the King's hand. What
Yeah,
made
that was
you?
awesome.
What made you go first in the last two matches?
My hands were horrible. I had no choice. Going second gave him full. The biggest differences was that he controlled King's hand and Assassin. When he controls King's hand and Assassin, he has complete control of how he wants to pace the game. So I am forced to go first to limit his options to where he can't play the hand exactly like he wants to. Yeti's a great player, so I mean he's able to notice his weaknesses in his hands and play around those things, which is why he King's handed. But anytime the opponent controls both King's hand and Assassin, it really limits your ability to go second, I think, and an Inquisitor too. He had all three, so
Yeah. I did have to say I did love that second hand where you almost actually squeaked away with a 3 point victory on the assassin, but he had both royalty and he played it well. I mean, if he played
mm-hmm.
the queen, it would have been lights out for him. If he played any other way, it would have been lights out for him.
Yep.
But I did appreciate the calculus of trying to go for that assassin hand and just barely missed. So
Yeah, so I mean that's another good example where it was a 3 point, but it was so close to if any of the discard luck or if any of the choices were slightly different, that horrible hand could have been a 3 point swing or a two
yeah,
point swing to me as well, you know. So it was just like
yeah,
very
it's 2 point
fine
because you flipped.
edges.
Yeah, you flipped on
Yeah,
the oathbound immediately. That was some ballsy
yeah,
play. So.
I mean, I didn't have many options with my resources, and I figured with what I had, I could try to escape. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, that match really came down to I think, yeah, I could have mulliganed, but I was playing to my odds the best I could, and all the variables just weren't quite in favor of me. The hands were weaker than they could have been, but still were pretty weak. And Yeti just played his hands perfectly. So, I mean, I'm not really too upset. I'm honestly quite relieved that I'm done. These games have been really stressful and I haven't really been enjoying it. So I'm honestly like, that's also maybe my mentality where I wasn't mulliganing as much, or I was just kind of playing a little bit more recklessly because I've just been so super stressed out. So I'm just really honestly happy to be done. And 18 card standard makes me really nervous and upset. So I'm just really glad that I'm done playing it right at this point. I'm going to be very happy being a spectator for the rest of the event.
Awesome. Well, we hope to see you in future events, regardless of that. But I do think that there's a mentality. There's a blog post actually on MinMax Games about mentality that actually talks about that a little bit too, which is how you actually prep yourself for games and that attitude of if you're not having fun, then it's not going to be good, right? So
Yeah.
I do appreciate the fact that you played, as you mentioned, kind of like more risky lines, but ones that would pay out as well with the lower hands that you had. So we're gonna miss you in terms of being a player, but we'll hope to have you on the casting bench soon. And thank you so much for joining. Is there anything else you want to say?
I mean, I'll be on later for 2v2. That'll be pretty fun. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the future of Imposter Kings and what else is coming down the pipeline. And I'm just going to be happy to be a part of it in whichever way that is, a player or a spectator or a commentator or whatever vein I'll be a part of it. But I love this game and I love the people in it. And I'm really happy to just be a part of the community. So thanks for hosting this. And I'm happy to be here. And Dan, you're awesome. I love you, Dan. You're great.
Oh man, that's all. Look at that shout out.
Oh,
So 2v2, 8:30 Pacific time tonight. We will be playing, showcasing. I think it's Papaya and. Are you guys going to be together? Are you guys going to do Goose and
Of
Yeti
course,
versus?
yeah.
Okay, so Goose and
I mean,
Yeti
just
versus
'cause we're on a
Papaya
team.
and DripDropDando. They're going to be playing 4-player standard, which is not commonly played, but is really fun to watch, and it's very fun to watch, and especially fun to play. So look forward to it, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you.
thank you. Oh my gosh.
Look at that. You got that personal shout out.
Oh my God. Well, likewise. It's a simple thing I'd say. Yeah, DripDropDando, such a wonderful member of both the Imposter Kings community and the MinMax Games community. Just so wonderful having him be a part of the game. And he's exactly right. Imposter King Stadium is a pressure cooker. I'll concede myself being a bit relieved to be out. I mean, I was sad because competitive, like to win like anybody. But it is tough in there. It definitely is. And one of the great things about this game, and why it's such a well-designed game by an incredible game designer, is, hey, Yeti.
How you doing?
I was just busy telling Sinbu what an incredible game designer he is, because one of the great things about this game, and the hallmark of any well-designed game, is when you lose, you feel like it was your fault, you don't feel like I got cheated or that was cheap. You think if I zigged when I could have zagged, it was a skill issue why I lost. And that's the hallmark of any great game, but it also makes the game very intense because it means each match your ego is on the line. There's no alibiing when you lose. And now, Yeti, you don't have to worry about that because you just played an exquisite match, winning 7-1 against a tough competitor. How's it feel walking away with the W here on Imposter King's morning?
Thank you. Feels pretty good. He's actually the one person in the Swiss that I had lost to.
Oh.
And I actually think that kind of gave me a little bit of an advantage because whenever like people are playing Swiss, they're playing the ladder, whatever, people tend to talk out the hand afterwards. And so kind of getting an idea of like, oh, he's like purposefully hiding assassin because of this card sequence in my hand. Like he's a good player. Like just even this, the thing about Imposter Kings is like you have to figure out what level your opponent is operating at. You have to figure out like, are they thinking 3D chess or are they just looking at their cards? And that can drastically change the way that you play.
So speaking of that, on the first game, he did a hard call where he tucked away his king's hand, which was super risky, and was banking on you hitting with the Inquisitor on a weaker hand, I would say. How did that mentally, like, did that make you think, oh, okay, this is the type of game we're playing, or were you like expecting that a little bit to see kind of teasing it out there?
Um, I wasn't like I wasn't like caught off guard per se. Um, Obviously, I think it was extremely good play. I think it's a very good showcase of actually his skill because, he figured all that out before the game started. It didn't throw me too off though. Like it was like, okay, that happened. Moving on. Like I wasn't super surprised. Um, Much to the reason why he did success rate, I felt like if he didn't and I called it, I kind of won on the spot. So I was like, let's go for it.
Awesome. And then throughout the game, I mean, obviously, you quickly mulligan the Exodia hand, obviously, but other than that, you had a pretty good, firm grasp of how to maneuver your hands in order to win. You played a little bit, as I think I classified you as an aggressive player. Do you feel like you're an aggressive player, and did you come out here thinking you're going to be aggressive, or did you change your tenor a bit when you were playing with him?
Um, I didn't necessarily think about changing anything. I think really, and maybe I don't know. I would say classifying me as aggressive is probably pretty accurate because it's definitely bit me in the butt a couple times. Where it's like you just lead with Inquisitor and it whiffs and it like loses you the game. Um, but I mean, in general, I feel like the way that I played was more around the cards that I had. I had some beefy hands. And so when you have beefy hands, you just need to know how to navigate their answers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I'd say that's the reason why this is such a dominant and wonderful victory is right. You played with exactly the amount of confidence that your hands allow you to have. And when you do have beefy hands, a lot of players have lost by being over aggressive with them, by pushing past what the hands are capable of and allowing thus a player to wriggle out from the noose, so to speak, by the countermeasures, by not playing the beef at the right time. And he just deployed it at exactly the right pace with exactly the right pressure. And that's the reason why, once you grab control of these hands, you never let it go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're making it to the next stage. You're going to be fighting against whoever wins between Papaya and Vilau, and then if you win that one, you play up against your brother Goose. So do you have anything you're prepping for in terms of these matches that are coming up?
I'm prepping for emotional damage. Not for me dishing it out, but for me receiving it.
Ah,
Um, uh, I don't know too much about Papaya as a player. Vila I have definitely played in the past, but it's been a long time. So I kind of want to maybe I might go back in because I haven't had a chance to watch any of the VODs yet from this tournament. So I might go back, watch those, see where everyone's kind of like sitting at, stuff like that.
I
But
recommend the Goose versus Vilau one. That one was a barn burner, as I've mentioned
That
multiple
was
times. So.
absolutely a barn burner.
So.
The barn was gone. It was cinders at the end.
Well, is there anything else you would like to say? Congratulations once
um,
again.
nothing too much. Don't whoever is watching, don't let the scoreline deceive you. Like, I know BLT is a very good player, a fantastic player. So I think he did get a series of relatively unfortunate hands. I think I played my hands correctly in a way that didn't necessarily allow him to warm out, much like Dan was talking about. So I still think he's a phenomenal player. Like probably one of the best in the server.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again, and we'll be seeing you pretty soon here back in Imposter Stadium for the semifinals. So congrats again, and thank you.
Thank you. It's been a good time. Have a good one.
Congrats, Yedi.
Thank you. Bye.
So there you have it, Dan. Looking at our brackets, as I mentioned, Yeti moves to the semifinals, and it looks like he's going to be playing against whoever wins the Vilau versus Papaya match.
Vilau versus Papaya match, and that match is tomorrow morning. For those of you on the West Coast here, Pacific time, who enjoy Imposter Kings in the morning, it's going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. So that's the next match. That will set the other half of the lower bracket semifinals. That promises to be a great match as well. I got to tell you, it's been a great tournament.
Yeah, it's it's always tough to see people go because everyone plays differently and everyone has a really cool style and there can only be one. So we're getting to the crux of it.
That's the cruel thing about tournaments. At the end of the day, only one person is hoisting the trophy in Imposter King Stadium, and a lot of great players have to say goodbye along the way. Uh, this is intense. That's not the only Imposter Kings action this weekend, though. Is that right, Sinbu? Isn't there a 2v2 matchup
Yes.
happening later this weekend?
So basically, with the same people that we were just talking about, there's going to be a Goose and Yedi versus Papaya and Notorious BLT, aka DripDropDando. That's going to be happening tonight at 8:30 Pacific time. So if you're around and you want to see some four-player, come on in. It's going to be a little bit more relaxed than Imposter King Stadium. It's going to be nighttime at Imposter King Stadium. There's going to be peanut gallery. Yeah, hopefully I can not only cast, but maybe even just have my voice be heard every once in a while in the game itself to goad other players into making bad decisions. But
For those of you who have not seen the 2v2 game, it is a delight because it's chaotic. It's like trying to watch, you have all these great players in the field. It's like trying to watch the world's greatest athletes get a fumble in a football field where every time they think they've got it wrangled, the oblong shake just takes it somewhere else. And you get to see a lot of really great players just scratching their head, wondering what happened
right.
in the best possible way. So a real treat here on this channel at 8:30 Pacific tonight.
That's right. So we will see y'all tomorrow at 11 a.m. or tonight at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you, everyone. Take care, Dan.
Bye, Sinbu.